Hello and welcome back to the Lame Sheeps Racing's British Touring Car Series here for rounds 16, 17 and 18 from the Silverstone circuit. It is the first time this season that we will be visiting Silverstone, but it won't be the last as we head around the international layout tonight. We head back to Silverstone in 3 weeks' time when we head around the national circuit for rounds 25, 26 and 27. Next week, however, we head to the fastest circuit in the UK and we head across to Thruxton. Knockhill returns to the calendar for the second time this season, but we visit that track in reverse for rounds 22 to 24. We then head across to Silverstone, as I said before, and then we make our way back to Donington Park GP for rounds 28, 29 and 30. What was last season the final rounds of the season, only 30 rounds. This season, however, we go up to 33 rounds. We return to Brands Hatch GP on April 26th for the season finale. And we go around the full GP layout for that one. It is going to be a great way to end the season. Today, however, we will be halfway through the season in the middle of race number 2. 3 races, of course, coming your way around the Silverstone circuit. And what a circuit it is. Championship then has gone the way of a few different drivers throughout the course of the evening, but we do have a few newcomers out there. One notable newcomer, in fact, out there tonight in the name of Noah Osbald-Destin. He will be trying to see if he can put his name and stamp onto the board very early doors here. Right then, let's have a look then at the championship standings as it stands heading into this one. And it is Matt Neal at the very top of the championship order after Knockhill last week. Of course, Neal didn't take any of the victories last week. Has taken 3 so far this season. Not the most, but the consistency has been what has mattered. 143 points on board ahead of Thomas Brown. It's then ahead of the winter champion, David Johansson. He stepped back from the rest of this season. He won't be out there. So we won't see those points go up. What we will see is drivers behind him finding their way up the field, including Riley Pogue, who sits 4th position in the championship right now, ahead of Thomas Batchelor. Batchelor tied on points with Aidan Ahmed. James Lazick-Smith sits in 7th in the championship, ahead of Carl Thompson. Joe Coffin sits in 9th, and James Paisley-Knight in 10th position. We'll look through your full championship standings at the end of this one, which will be in about an hour's time, because just like the Porsches, it is a nice quick evening here around the touring cars, and we will welcome you into the commentary booth here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting for the first time tonight in the touring cars. If you're watching over on our YouTube channel, then make sure you hit the thumbs up and like the stream. Also, make sure you're subscribing to that channel as well. I can't believe it. We have gone up almost 50 subscribers in just the last month alone. So if you could continue subscribing over there and watching that channel grow, is going to be great for all of the broadcasts, because it means that I can bring you more wonderful coverage of your iRacing events. And then, if you're watching over on the Twitch page, make sure you hit that follow button over there as well. In the same case, we've gone up almost 100 followers within the last couple of months, and we're very close to that 500 follower goal over there as well. And both of those feats would be absolutely fantastic to meet within the next month or two, so that we can continue to elevate our level of broadcasting. Partially thanks to all of your support, in addition to, of course, our league organisers. It means that we have been able to upgrade our behind the scenes here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting and bring this wonderful setup, which means that I now have lots to look at, and it's absolutely helpful to bring you the best level of broadcasting as well. Right then, let's have a look at the end of this qualifying session then, with just a few minutes left on the board for our drivers. It is Matt Neal who finds himself to the very front. He took pole position for the first time this season, last time out at Knockhill. Can he find his way towards the very front once again? His teammate Thomas Brown is looking to be the one to knock him off of that at the moment, and newcomer Noah Osbald-Destin is quite close up there as well, but Brown does knock his teammate off the top step of the order here in qualifying. Brown has taken 2 pole positions so far this season. He managed to do that at Brands Hatch and at Alton Park, the first 2 events of the Spring 2026 campaign. He has missed out in the last 3 weeks of asking, can he find his way back towards the very top here? 10 drivers have put their name on the board, but we are still waiting for the 4 more drivers to find their way towards the onto the timing line there, in the way of Jan Mild, Riley Pogue, Marek Alolius and James Potter. But as we've seen in quite a lot of the recent events, Riley Pogue does not get out in qualifying during the touring cars very often. Janis Filiborski has put a lap time on the board, but he's back down pit lane serving a penalty, which means we won't see him improve, but it's 11th position right now. Carl Thompson is running around in P number 5 in the new Audi. If I'm not mistaken, it was Thompson that headed out last week in the old Audi. That old legacy Audi has been dropped from the roster now for the remainder of the season. It was causing some headaches with the points as it was classified as a different class. It was causing a headache for me as well as a headache for our wonderful league organiser of Gregory Speakman. Right, Carl Thompson gets towards the end of the lap here and looking to see if he can improve on 5th place, sitting 8/10 of a second off of Thomas Brown, but only 2/10 off of Brown's teammate Batchelor. The 3 Alpha quarters here inside the top 4 right now as Thompson crosses the timing line. It was an invalid lap that was last time around. No improvement for him with 1 minute left on the board. Jan Mild is looking to try and put some new times out there. What's lovely about the Touring Car Series here on a Sunday, it is not an Audi. It's not an Audi series where you see a lot of the touring car leagues at the moment. That new Audi has taken precedent over a lot of the other touring cars. However, out there today, there were only 3 of the new Audis in a field of 14 drivers, which is a nice mix. We've got a field that is dominated by Hondas as they continue to be the favourites here in the Lame Sheep Racing British Touring Car Series. As Jan Mild comes through the final corner, is he be able to put a nice lap time on the board? Crosses the line for 11th position, goes ahead of his teammate Marek Lolius, who sits in 12th position. As I say, Riley Pogue not putting in a lap time in this session, but will be starting from 14th on the grid. Thomas Brown continues to get the tow from Matt Neal and looks like he will take pole position for the first time in a number of weeks, and looking to try and make up for missing out on the race 2 victory in the Porsches that took part just a moment ago. But Thomas Brown is going to find his way onto pole position for the first race of the day. Something that he has now done for the 3rd time this season, but he has not been able to complete for the last 3 weeks. So it will be nice for him to start up there once again. Right then, let's go through the grid for the first of our 15-minute races today. Thomas Brown will be starting in pole position ahead of Matt Neal. Noah Osbald-Destin will be starting in 3rd with Carl Thompson in 4th position. Thomas Batchelor in 5th ahead of James Lazark-Smith. Gregory Speakman will be starting in 7th. Cam McKay in 8th place. Mark Hughes will be on the grid in 9th ahead of James Potter. Jan Mild will start this one in 11th ahead of Marek Alolius. Janis Filiborski will start this one in 13th position, and Riley Pogue, without putting a lap time in qualifying, will start from the back of the field. Right then, our drivers are going to grid themselves up. They are going to get themselves prepared for racing. And newcomer Noah Osbald-Destin will be looking to try and do something there from P3. Carl Thompson is on wet tyres. He's back down pit lane. Will those be dry tyres that go back on the car? I think they might be there. I think that was a momentary mistake on a tyre choice from Carl Thompson. Both Thompson and Hughes down pit lane as it stands as we wait for the start of race number 1. Thomas Brown is not on the grid here. We are away and Thomas Brown is not on the grid for race number 1. The man who started pole position will be starting from pit lane. Matt Neal, therefore, moves through into the lead of the race here. It's side by side between Lazark-Smith And Cam McKay, Janis Salaborski has gone off at turn number 1. Contact with James Potter, I believe, because Potter has got damage and will need to come down pit lane to deal with that. Potter is coming around here and through turn number 1. Look at the damage on Potter's machine there, and Thomas Brown now has had to start from pit lane but is out running now in 13th position, which means the man who started on pole is really starting from the back of the field and from pit lane. What has happened on the opening lap of asking? It was 3 wide there with Lazik Smith. Potter and Salaborski come together. That was the meatball for Potter. Salaborski gets himself spun in a complete 360 and back racing again. Lazik Smith goes sideways there through the rail complex, and Cam McKay now looks to get up the inside of Riley Pogue through club and over the timing line. Riley Pogue stays ahead right now as Lazik Smith dropped down to P number 8 in all of that. There is everyone out there on dry tyres for this one as Lazik Smith gets up the inside of Gregory Speakman there. You can see a bit of spray being kicked up, but what happened to James Lazik Smith? It was contact with Pogue. It was contact with Pogue there between the two of them. Obviously, we do see more incidents in the touring cars than in the Porsches, but if you watch touring cars for any number of years in the real world, as Lazik Smith goes for a very deep dive up the inside of McKay, you'll know, even though it's not really a contact sport, touring cars is a contact sport at the end of the day. You do have your nudges and your bumps, and that's exactly what we saw there between Pogue and Lazik Smith. We see a lot more of it in the touring cars than we see on the Porsches that we just had on, of course. Noah Osbald-Deston has moved through into the lead of this race. That was up towards turn number 1. It looks like Neil has had an issue over the water, slides the car, somehow keeps it under control, but Noah Osbald-Deston in his debut race here is leading the touring car field ahead of the 2 Alpha Corsa drivers of Matt Neal and Thomas Batchelor. Carl Thompson moves past Mount Colonius as Jan Mile gets up the inside of Gregory Speakman through Hanger and through Chapel and onto Hanger straight. It is side by side between Mild and Speakman. Mild will hold the inside line here in the new Audi, side by side with the ever popular Honda of Gregory Speakman, as they get through the Stowe turn there and up towards the Vale complex. Matt Neal is all over the rear of Noah Osbald-Deston, looking to try and take back the lead in this one after getting the water on the last lap. Fastest lap of asking for Noah Osbald-Deston, but Matt Neal goes to the inside there, doesn't quite make it work to the inside of the number 1 machine. He'll have to stay behind for the time being. We get onto the brakes. And Matt Neal is going to be side by side there with Osbald-Deston just for a moment as they get up towards Chapel now. That little bit of water that we have standing around the track, especially on the apexes, is making those Hondas quite challenging to get turned in. Of course, it is the Elantra leading this one right now. It's nice to see the Elantra becoming more popular in this touring car series as well. And Matt Neal right now not happy to see the Elantra becoming more popular because it's the car sat directly ahead of him. It'll be to the outside as we get heavy over the curbing there. Switch back to the right-hand side here with Matt Neal all over the rear end of Thomas Batchelor. We get up towards the timing line, and it will still be Osbald-Deston ahead of Matt Neal for the time being. And again, it's just catching that water. It makes the cars just look so uncomfortable. We head up towards braking zone into the village complex here. Matt Neal has got the outside line. It will switch across in his favour here. Noah Osbald-Deston is going to do his hardest to keep his nose in as we go up towards Chapel. And Osbald-Deston will keep his nose in there. It's a little bit of a nudge between Noah Osbald-Deston in his debut race and Matt Neal, who has won 3 races so far this season alone. Thomas Brown, the fast man out there at the back of the field right now. Matt Neal to the outside of Noah Osbald Destin. Osbald Destin will keep that inside line for the time being. Is Thomas Batcher going to find himself fighting away here? The Alpha Coursers have not often backed out because it is their teammates ahead of them. They have gone throughout the last since the beginning of the league history. They have fought each other to the bone, sometimes even coming into blows with each other. But right now, Batchelor just watching this fight going on in front and thinking, I can take advantage of this if I just sit behind. Neil trying to find the way through the opening couple of corners here. Matt Neal having on the break on the outside, but Osbald Destin keeps it tight on the inside line. They switch it across. And Neil trying to find speed as we head up towards Chapel here. Batchelor all over the rear once more in this fight for P number 1 in this first of 3 races today. We head up towards Stowe. Matt Neal already getting a nose in on the right-hand side here. We'll get the inside line on Osbald Destin into Stowe. Osbald Destin having to carry the speed on the outside. A flicker of the brakes there as he keeps the car under control. But Matt Neal makes his way past, trying to go defensive, but not wanting to run over the puddles. And now Thomas Batchelor looks like he might be trying to make the move past Osbald Destin. He has to remain behind for the time being. And Matt Neal returns back to the top spot in this first race of the day and will lead the way once more over your debut driver of Noah Osbald Destin. Thomas Batchelor in the other Alpha Corsa here, chasing in just behind and thinking about how he might be able to make his way through. James Potter falls to the back of the field as Thomas Brown up to 13th. Of course, top 15 score points, so everyone will be taking points out of this one, and Thomas Brown looking to get the additional bonus points for fastest lap as well. He's taken most fastest laps this season with 7. As Batchelor pushes Osbald Destin there through turn number 5, I should say. And up onto Hanger Straight as we go and watch Cam McKay here sitting ahead of James Lazick Smith. As that was a position gain for him, and it's because Lazick Smith came to blows there with Mark Hughes, and Mark Hughes found himself falling down the order. And Cam McKay getting a 2-for-1 in that position. We go back live, though, because Lazick Smith was all over the rear end of McKay. There's a little bit of a nudge. Remember, Lazick Smith will have got around. There's another nudge there as McKay struggles to get the car turned into the right, and that car is very much crabbing. He has broken that rear left suspension with the contact there for Cam McKay, and his race will be done here in race number 1, which is a real shame. Just a little bit of a nudge there. This is watching Thomas Batchelor here, chasing down the rear end of Noah Osbald Destin. This is for P number 2, remember, in this one as we head up towards the timing line once more, but they've got a few corners between themselves and that line. And is Batchelor going to be able to do anything within those to move up towards P number 2 before they cross it? With about 6 more minutes left to go in this one, we head up in towards the Vale Complex now, all over the rear end. And we swap across, and it is going to remain in the same line as it was before right now. Gregory Speakman, though, is looking to change it around behind. This is the fight in 8th and 9th position with Lolius ahead of Speakman, and that is Cam McKay making his way down pit lane following the contact with Lazick Smith. And this is just another view of that. This is how it all occurred. Lazick Smith looked to the inside. McKay moved across to the right. Just a little bit of a nudge there. Looked like Lazick Smith even sounded like he went into neutral for a moment. That secondary contact that happened between them was definitely not intentional. That was just due to the fact that McKay's rear left suspension broke in the initial piece of contact. Right, Thomas Batchelor is all over the rear end of Noah Osbald Destin now and will look to make his way through. He goes to the inside line. Osbald Destin running a slightly wider entry there, is able to carry the speed here, but Batchelor looking to try and make it an Alpha Corsa 1-2. As we look at that, I'm looking down the order for Thomas Brown. He sits 11th place right now. Doesn't look like he'll make it inside the top 10 unless there's further issues ahead of him at the moment. Right, up towards the timing line goes Thomas Batchelor. Chasing down Noah Osbaldeston, who is looking to get a really strong result in his debut race, but he goes on a slightly wider line into turn number 1. Batchelor now looking to switch it across as he's going to be on the outside into the braking zone for Village. Brakes a little bit harder there to try and get the speed on the exit, and they do run different lines up in towards Chapel and on towards the hanger straight here. Thomas Batchelor all over the rear end of Noah Osbaldeston. For P number 2 is Batchelor going to move to the inside. Is Osbaldeston going to go defensive? Osbaldeston stays on the outside line. Thomas Batchelor moves to the inside here. The number 1 machine thinking that outside line is going to help him out, especially as they head up towards the Vale complex, because they do remain side by side here with Noah Osbaldeston on the inside. Thomas Batchelor on the outside line. They get it down onto the brake, switch it across, and Osbaldeston will remain ahead of Batchelor. Out of the final turn they go. Batchelor pushing it a little bit harder than he would have wanted to there, but he keeps it all over the rear of the number 1 machine as we head up towards turn number 1. Matt Neal, the fastest man out there right now at the front, is looking to maximise his points in the first of our 3 races today. Batchelor gets right onto the rear end of Osbaldeston once more. They both ride over the curbing there and switch it across to the right-hand side through Chapel and on towards Hanger Straight here with Thomas Batchelor once again very close on the rear end of Osbaldeston. He's tried the inside line a couple of times. It has not worked, but will he go for it again here? He stays behind in line with Osbaldeston. This time it looks like he might be trying to do something slightly different as they come up towards the end of the lap. Gets onto the braking zone there, turns it in, just stays behind for the time being. Backs out really heavily actually through the exit of the Vale chicane and in towards Club there. That gap opening up to about half a second right now as they go across the timing line. And with that being said, 2 minutes on the board, we're looking at another 3 laps of asking. And if it's anything like race number 2 in the Porsches, the white flag actually came out a lap earlier for us, and they were able to push it the additional lap. So we'll see what happens in this one. 0.3 of a second separate them. Janis Soliborski is 0.3 of a second behind Speakman as they come through turn number 1. And Jan Mild is about 0.6 off of Carl Thompson. So there are fights up and down the field at the moment. We'll keep an eye on the intervals between each of our drivers, just in case any overtakes are looking to happen. But right now, Batchelor behind Osbaldeston is the one that we are watching in the potential fight here for P number 2. Matt Neal dropped down a second place early doors with Osbaldeston taking the lead. Of course, it was pole position for Thomas Brown, but he missed the grid and started from pit lane. Neal was then able to finally make the move back past Osbaldeston about halfway through the race. And Thomas Batchelor has been the next Alpha Corsa in line to try and make that move. He's just not been able to do it so far. And he does remain behind with less than a minute left on the board. We'll be looking at about we will be looking at one more lap after this one. Thomas Batchelor does go quicker through the village complex there, through Chapel and on to Hanger Straight. Thomas Brown closes in once again to 0.3 of a second here, but as the circuit continues to dry up, the racing line and the inside run onto the apex are getting less and less puddles, which means you can run those better racing lines without having to avoid any puddles in this one. But as it stands, Batchelor stays behind Noah Osbaldeston here. We come into the braking zone for the Vale chicane. Batchelor does have the speed there, but nowhere to go with Osbaldeston being on the line. We go over the timing line, and Neal just about clicks in to a 14th lap of asking as we go onto the white flag. Batchelor for a moment look towards the inside of Oswald Destin. He is going to get this last opportunity to do so. Is he going to go to the outside of the village complex? He breaks early, trying to find the speed on Noah Oswald Destin here as we come through up towards Chapel. It was to the inside for Bachelor, but he wasn't able to get his nose in alongside Oswald Destin. Oswald Destin this time moves to the right-hand side. It's the first time we've seen him making any move along Hanger Straight. He does move to the right-hand side. Back to the racing line, though, as that's Bachelor trying to make a dive towards the inside. I just don't think it's going to pay out. He will have one last opportunity on towards the brakes and then trying to get the speed on the exit, but Oswald Destin doesn't allow any overlap from Thomas Bachelor. But Matt Neal, for what will be the 4th time this season, will come across the line, and Matt Neal will win here at Silverstone. Noah Oswald Destin will take P2 in his debut race. Thomas Bachelor will take the final podium position, and Riley Pogue, exactly what a championship hopeful will be wanting. He takes 4th place ahead of James Lazick-Smith. Carl Thompson crosses the line in 6th ahead of Jan Mild. Marek Lolius coming across in 8th. Gregory Speakman just keeps Soliborski at bay across the line for 9th ahead of Soliborski, who crossed the line in 10th. Thomas Brown will cross the line in 11th. Cam McKay crossed the line a lap down after having to come down pit lane. James Potter will come through the final few corners to take home P number 12, and Mark Hughes will take 13th place in this one. And as they cross the line, that will be the order that they start the second race of the day. And with that being said, Matt Neal takes home what is his 4th win of the season, and along with it, his 8th fastest lap. Matt Neal has been putting in a lot of work in those bonus points that have been on offer. As we prepare for race number 2, let's just clarify where they'll all be starting in the second race today. Of course, the order the same as how they finished race number 1. It will be Matt Neal at the front of this one, ahead of Noah Oswald Destin. Thomas Bachelor will be starting in 3rd, ahead of Riley Pogue. James Lazick-Smith from 5th, and Carl Thompson from 6th position. Jan Mild will be starting in 7th, ahead of Marek Lolius. Gregory Speakman from 9th on the grid, ahead of Janis Soliborski. Thomas Brown will start in 11th after failing to make the grid in race 1. James Potter will be starting in 12th position. Mark Hughes in 13th, and Cam McKay will be starting this second race of the day from 14th and last after the contact with Lazick-Smith broke his suspension, forcing him to start down pit lane. Drivers then are gridding up, and we'll be hoping to see everyone on the grid this time for the second race of the day. And we do see Thomas Brown out there this time, which hopefully means he will not be starting from pit lane for this second race. Just waiting on Cam McKay to get down onto the field at the rear of this one. He did come home to cross the line in race number 1, even being a lap down, and there he appears at the back of the field, which means we will have all 14 drivers back out again in the second of 3 races here for round number 17 in this championship. Halfway through this race, we will officially be halfway through the season, and Matt Neal is the driver ahead in the championship, and he will continue to be so with the win after race number 1. All drivers are ready and waiting then. We are ready and waiting, and we are going to see how this one gets going. 15 minutes on the board for the second race of the day. We are green and away here for round number 17. A great launch in the background from Thomas Brown, already finding his way up the order. It is 3 wide in turn number 1. That didn't work out in race 1. It's not going to work out in race 2. We're going to see issues towards the front of this field. It is the number 26 of Thomas Bachelor. That is the Alpha Corsa. That is getting bumped and banged around. There's contact there with Oswald Destin, who keeps it facing the right way. Riley Pogue has made his way up to second, and side by side between Bachelor and Oswald Destin. But Oswald Destin keeps his way ahead, and it's contact behind. Lazick-Smith spins Thomas Brown, who had a fantastic launch but finds himself at the rear end of this one yet again, and the man P2 in the championship will be loathing this evening's race right now as he finds himself at the rear end of the pack for a second time. We head up towards the Vale chicane here. Drivers going side by side as that was Batchelor dropping back a little bit. Jan Mild finding his way through. Mild's teammate Lolius just having to sit behind for the time being. Gregory Speakman to the inside of James Potter. Rides the curb heavy through the Vale chicane. Stays to the inside through Club, but James Potter will move up into 10th position in this one as we come up towards turn number 1. Matt Neal, though, holds on to the lead where he started, and he took full advantage of all of the issues that were going on behind us. Lazark Smith drives into the rear end there of Soliborski. Contact again with McKay. Soliborski gets back on track. Lazark Smith now to the outside as they go side by side through Chapel, and once again Cam McKay is the driver to come off worse for wear in another instant with Lazark Smith. It seems to be piling up in this evening as Lazark Smith is just intent on trying to get towards the front of this one. Pogue and Oswald Destin fight it out for second as Lazark Smith to the inside of Janis Soliborski here, and there is contact between the two of them. Soliborski on the dry tyres runs through the water there, but Soliborski is going to try and keep it ahead of Lazark Smith. He leaves the door open though as they come through the Vale chicane and up towards Club. Another little bit of a nudge there, more of a nudge as Soliborski is forced off of the circuit by Lazark Smith there as they keep on bumping and banging up towards turn number 1, and there's contact as James Potter tried to get past Soliborski. He goes off the circuit now, and Soliborski under attack from Cam McKay. Cam McKay now gets towards the inside as well, and McKay makes that move as that is James Potter returning to the track, but has fallen down to 12th. He's side by side with Carl Thompson. There's a little bit of a nudge there. Thompson keeps it facing the right way. They get through Hanger, and they do sort themselves out and settle themselves down. Oh my word, there was so much going on there. But this was the side-by-side for Pete number 2 that we mentioned. It was Oswald Destin to the outside of Pogue into the Vale chicane. It then switched around, and then Oswald Destin was just able to confirm it out of the final corner. Right, Thomas Batchelor looking to try and get past Jan Mild in a fight for 4th position. He won't be able to do that, but this is Cam McKay now to the inside of Soliborski into the Vale chicane. That was Potter clattering over the curve behind, trying to get past Thompson. McKay on the outside of Soliborski, and Speakman looks to try and get to the inside line as well, and this is the fight for the back end of the top 10 right now. We head up towards turn number 1, and it is going to be side by side with Soliborski on the inside. McKay has to back out of it behind, will drop into 9th, but here comes Gregory Speakman to try and do something up the inside of Soliborski, and then James Potter completely misses the corner, but his dive definitely scaring drivers behind there, causing them to all bunch up. And it'll be interesting to see how that one played out from a better angle here, and we'll see how this one was as Potter looked to the inside, realised he was going to miss it, dived straight to the glass there. There was contact between McKay and Speakman, as they were all just probably looking in their rearview mirror at that point and looking at what Potter was doing. Potter, though, it has been able to hold on to the position up ahead. It is 3 wide up towards the Vale chicane. Speakman now to the inside of Carl Thompson. Thompson will have that. McKay's car once again looking a bit worse for wear. He's down in 14th position, and all of this, Thomas Brown has benefited once more. He's up into 10th position and now looking to try and get past James Potter. Of course, we are going to see a random inverted field at the end of this one, and drivers are going to be wondering who is going to be able to get pole position. Where are they going to find themselves flipped as we get into the village complex there at looking at Cam McKay? Is that middle fight now broken up just a little bit? Thomas Brown is looking to go and get past James Potter for what will be 9th position. Brown holds on to the right hand side of the circuit here, and Brown moves on through. Potter is not going to go defensive, doesn't try to make the move back as they go through Stowe, but that was a big slide from Potter. From Brown. It invites Potter in. Potter goes completely off the circuit to make that move on the outside. We'll try to keep it on the inside line. Oh, but that's Brown knowing exactly what's coming there. And look at that switchback from Thomas Brown. And he makes his way back through to 9th position. That was some masterclass driving there through the Vale chicane. Potter looks to the inside up towards turn number 1. But there'll be nothing doing in all of that. And they'll sort themselves out. It is the teammates of Jan Mild and Marek Lolius that are running in 5th and 6th position. Great for the Retro Motorsport machines, and Gregory Speakman finds himself disqualified. Was there contact in this one? I think it was the off-track. It was the off-track there from Speakman, reached the instant limit and disqualified from the second race of the day, which will move Mark Hughes back into 13th. Speakman could still be in the chance with the invert, of course, depending on how many drivers are included in the invert. As we come up towards the final turn here, Jan Mild sitting in 5th ahead of Marek Lolius. They come across the timing line in 5th and 6th position, the two teammates. Are they going to fight them between themselves here? It is the Elantra chasing down the new Audi machine out there. And it's about 0.2 of a second between the two teammates. I don't think we've seen the two Retro Motorsport drivers going out at a nice fight out there yet so far in the course of the previous races. So it'll be nice to see if they are able to give it a bit of a go between themselves, and hopefully they can do a bit better at inter-team fighting than the Alpha Course as well, especially in the winter season. Of course, the Alpha Course is coming together more times than they didn't whenever they met out there on the circuit. They have learnt this season though. Thomas Brown looks to the inside of Janis Soliborski. He is looking to move into 8th place here. He ducks to the inside, and Thomas Brown moves up into 8th position ahead of the Polish driver of Soliborski behind. He gets onto the braking zone there. It is Marek Lolius getting really close to Jan Mild here, and I do think we are going to see inter-team fights going on in the Retro Motorsport camp here, which would be lovely to see. The Audi of Mild trying to keep Lolius ahead as we head up towards the village complex. Are we going to see them looking for a fight? Are we going to see them actually working together potentially? They're 2.6 seconds off of Batchelor ahead. Batchelor all over the rear end of Riley Pogue as well, looking to try and get his Alpha Corsa back onto the podium position where he started this one. And there is going to be a change up at front as Pogue goes really slowly out of there. Was there? That was definitely a slowdown for Pogue, wasn't it? No, he just moves to the right-hand side there for Pogue. Maybe that was a slowdown from an earlier corner there, because Pogue definitely gave up the position to Thomas Batchelor in that one, and now the Elantra falls behind the Honda as we come through the club corner now and onto the Lewis Hamilton straight. 5.5 minutes left in this one. We're looking at another 6 laps to go, this one included, as Neil is looking to extend it to 14 laps again. He managed to get there by just about a second or two in race number 1. Can he do the same again in race number 2? We get into the village complex here, and Poe going for the wider entrance into the tighter run through the corner. He definitely has some speed in this slower section of the course in that Elantra, but trying to keep up with the Honda overall seems to be a struggle for the Elantras right now. Noah Oswald Destin in the Elantra is running in 2nd position, has fallen almost 5 seconds back of Matt Neal, but you've got to remember the first lap of the race, Matt Neal was able to gain about a 3-second advantage due to all of the bumping and banging that was going on behind him. We head up towards the Vale chicane now, with Pogue still chasing down the rear end of Thomas Batchelor as we come through the Vale chicane and into club now. It's about 0.3 of a second between them. The same gap separating the teammates of Mild and Lolius as well. They'll be hoping then these two cars get into a proper fight in this one and potentially invite the two Retro Motorsports into an opportunity. That being said, Lazarus Smith is inviting himself into an opportunity with the Retro Motorsport drivers ahead of him, as the man in the number 10 machine is trying to get past now the two Retro drivers ahead as we get in towards Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight. Trying to keep it inside track limits as well there, because you can get an off-track and a slowdown through the exit of Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight there. If you just push it wide after the cut-through, James Potter gets past Soliborski as well, and this is how James Potter was able to move past the number 81 machine. It was a big old move to the inside, wasn't it? He was just going to go for that, and Soliborski had to back out and let it happen. However, he's not going to back out of a fight as he goes for it once more, looking towards the outside into the Vale chicane, and that is Carl Thompson chasing on just behind as well, looking to try and get the 774 machine involved in this fight for a top 10 position. It was a fight for 9th place, of course, between the three of them, with Thompson sitting in 11th position as it stands. Cam McKay, who's had a bit of a beaten and bruised evening so far, is running around in 12th position, 26 seconds clear of Mark Hughes. Carl Thompson gets to the inside of Janis Soliborski. Soliborski's going to try and fight it through the remainder of the village complex, but as they come through Chapel, the Audi machine of Carl Thompson finds his way past Janis Soliborski and up into 10th position. 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and as Matt Neal comes across the timing line, it'll be 3 laps to go here in this race of the second of 3 races of the day. We will see a random invert for the final race, and the inverted grids always bring drama, chaos and contact, so it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be able to benefit most in that last race. Matt Neal at the moment looking to dominate this weekend. He didn't take pole position, but he took a win and fastest lap in race number 1. He's looking to do the same here in race number 2. We go back to the Retro Motorsport collection. It is Mild ahead of Lolius, and they have the chasing James Lazarus Smith trying to get into the mix of the teammates right now, with just a couple of laps that will be left on the board in a moment's time as we go into 1.5 minutes here in the second race of the day. We head up towards Stowe Corner. Mild and Lolius, you know what I have to say, have been showing some excellent pace in this race. They have, well, I said we need to reflect on the winter season for just a moment for these Retro Motorsport drivers. Lolius didn't manage to make too many of the races. Mild did. Now, Mild did win a race last season. We cannot discount Mild from showing pace, but he won a wet race, being the only driver who started that race on wet. Everyone else on dries. That's how he came to win. Jan Mild has not shown in, well, I would say the winter season, consistent pace, a strong amount of pace. We have to acknowledge the improvement that Jan Mild has been showing out there, and not just since he's jumped into the Audi and got into the new car. No, he was showing pace before the Audi in this second season of competition. He has been slowly and steadily finding the speed in the touring cars, and he is getting some strong points in there. Very much planted in the top 10 in the championship, and I think at this rate of improvement, we could see him legitimately fighting for positions in the summer 2026 campaign. I think that is a proper opportunity. Now, however, the opportunity goes to Marek Lolius to try and make the move for 5th position. Is he going to fight his teammate Jan Mild? No, he backs out. They are just going to try and keep Lazarus Smith at bay, I believe, the two Retro teammates here, and try and take 5th and 6th place. We come through club, and it is a very tight fight here for the top 5. The white flag is out on this lap, the 14th lap of asking in the second of 3 races today. A lot of water being kicked up there. Jan Mild is trying to hold on to a top 5 result ahead of Marek Lolius' teammate, and then they have Lazarus Smith behind. They are surely going to be thinking as teammates here as Lazarus Smith goes to the inside of Lolius. Lolius can carry that speed on the wider entrance onto the hangar straights here. Mild should be safe at the front of this one, but Lazarus Smith may come under attack as we head up towards Stoke Corner. Lolius goes defensive, but Matt Neal will take back-to-back race victories here and will win in race number 2. Noah Oswald Deston will come home to take second place once again. Third place will go the way of Thomas Batchelor, and Riley Pogue will take fourth place. The top 4 finish the way they started. But Jan Mild and Lolius both work their way up a couple of positions. Mild will finish 5th. Lolius will finish 6th out of Lazarus Smith 7th. Thomas Brown recovered from the opening lap spin by Lazarus Smith to get into 8th position. James Potter crosses the line in 9th out of Carl Thompson. Janis Salaborski will take home 11th place. Cam McKay will come home after another race of contact and issues to take home P12. And Mark Hughes will finish this one in 13th position. Gregory Speakman will be disqualified, and it will be an inverted pole position for the man that has had a horrible evening so far. Cam McKay will be starting the 3rd and final round of the evening from pole position. We'll be hoping that he stays out of any incidents in the final race of the day. With that being said then, let's confirm to you all our grid for the 3rd and final race of the day. And with an invert of your top 12, Cam McKay will start the 3rd and final race of the day on pole position ahead of Janis Salaborski. Carl Thompson from 3rd place ahead of James Potter. Thomas Brown from 5th ahead of James Lazarus Smith. 7th will be for Marek Lolius ahead of his teammate Jan Mild. Riley Pogue will start from 9th ahead of Thomas Batchelor. Noah Oswald Deston will have to start this one from 11th. Matt Neal will be starting the final race of the day from 12th on the grid after winning both of the opening races with fastest lap to boot. Mark Hughes will have to start in 13th, and Gregory Speakman from the back of the field, both of those missing out on the invert here. We get ourselves ready then for the final race of the day, and Cam McKay is going to be starting his way on pole position. And as I said, Matt Neal taking yet another victory, takes him to 5 victories and the most of anyone this season. He continues to extend his records in the fastest lap. 9 fastest laps so far this season in 17 rounds of asking. If you want to check out all the stats, they'll be updated within the next week and up on the Joseph Wright Broadcasting website. Go to josephwrightbroadcasting.com and then head over to our leagues tab, and you'll be able to see both the Porsches and the touring cars from the Lame Sheep Racing crew with all the stats, results and standings. We prepare to head up towards turn number 1 here for the final race of the day. With how close it's been on 14 laps, actually, with Matt Neal being at the front, we may only get 13 laps in this one. We may actually see slightly less, because Neal has been able to cross the line with just a few seconds to spare in both of the opening races. We get ourselves sorted here then. 15 minutes on the board for the final race of the day. We are green for round number 18, and a fantastic launch for Thomas Brown, who moves from 5th to 2nd off of the line. Lazarus Smith moves too as well. It was 4 wide for just a moment into turn number 1. Everyone makes it through with just one driver off the circuit trying to recover. It's Noah Oswald Deston who will return back on at the village complex there. Side by side with Carl Thompson pushing his way through. It's 3 wide for the lead here. Thomas Brown to the inside, Lazarus Smith to the outside. Cam McKay was stuck in the middle, falls down to 3rd. But Thomas Brown, he qualified on pole, but he missed the grid and started from pit lane. It is side by side now between Thomas Brown and James Lazarus Smith up towards Stowe. It is side by side behind as well from multiple positions. Thomas Brown gets his way through, and that was Oswald Deston having contact, finding himself sideways and plummeting down the field. He was up in 5th. He is down to 10th. Onto the brakes for the Vale complex. Isaac Smith has moved into the lead, but it's a switch across for Thomas Brown. He'll go back into the lead of this one as we come out of club and up towards the timing line. Thomas Batchelor looking to get the position on Matt Neal and does so around the outside. Up into 6th place. Matt Neal will have to hold on to 7th, but that's going to be Batchelor catching the water on the inside. He'll find himself off at turn number 1 and will try to get himself back on at Village, side by side with Neil there. He's going to go for the outside line. Carl Thompson for the second time this race will see a driver rejoin just next to him as Isaac Smith looking to try and take back the lead in this one that he got momentarily through the Vale chicane on the first lap of Asking. These two came to blows in race number 2, and it saw Brown facing the wrong way and having to recover through the field. And he did so. He finished just a couple of seconds off of Isaac Smith, and now he's ahead of Isaac Smith once more, but they are going to come very close to each other up towards Vale chicane. Isaac Smith looks to the inside of Brown. Brown keeps the door open, but will keep it on the inside this time. Keeps it parked on the curbing, and that will invite Cam McKay to the inside through club. But he backs out and allows Isaac Smith to hold on to it, but Cam McKay running so slowly there has just been Riley Pogue and Matt Neal are going to go to the inside, and it is 3 wide up towards turn number 1. Matt Neal finds his way into 3rd position. Pogue and McKay are side by side. McKay holds it for the time being, and here comes Batchelor, and here comes Potter trying to follow through as well. Potter doesn't get it on McKay. McKay now fighting back at Pogue. A little bit of contact there. Pogue puts the accelerator down, gets it back facing the right way. But James Potter now finds his way around the outside and up into 5th position. Pogue back down into 6th place right now. Matt Neal started this race in P12, of course, after winning race number 1 and race number 2, as that's Pogue to the inside of Potter, trying to make his way back through up into a top 5. They nudge each other through the corner. Potter is going to be on the inside of Pogue here. They fight hard in the Porsches. They're going to fight hard here in the touring cars as well. Oswald Deston on a recovery drive behind. Got it to the inside of Miles. There was then contact. And yet again, Oswald Deston finds himself falling down the field in his debut race. And he is seeing firsthand now how hectic these inverted races are. Riley Pogue gets to the inside of James Potter, moves back into 5th position here. And Matt Neal moves through into 2nd place, but he runs deep and off through the Village complex. What could have been, and it's contact with Potter, and Potter hits Batchelor. I mean, we've had some unsafe rejoins. None of them have led to contact yet, but Matt Neal, your winner from race 1 and 2, will be thinking about how he could have done that one differently, because Matt Neal takes out James Potter on that return to the circuit. Potter hit Batchelor there as well. Batchelor was able to put the throttle through and get it going, but Potter now down to the rear end of this field after that contact. Thomas Batchelor looking to try and get past Janis Salaborski here for P number 11. A lot of curbing there from Oswald Deston, who's back up to P number 10 again in this one after finding himself around a number of times. Thomas Brown, the man who started on pole position, wasn't able to take the grid, is now looking to try and take what will be his 5th win of the season as well in the opening 18 rounds of Asking. We're out towards the braking zone as Thomas Batchelor was to the outside of Salaborski. It turns to the inside into Village there, and Thomas Batchelor moves up into 11th place. Matt Neal will be trying to look ahead and thinking, what can he do to maximise his points in this one? He gets the toe behind Pogue. Pogue will stay to the right. Neal will go to the left, and he will have that outside line here, and he will have the speed as well. We know the Elantra isn't as fast in a straight line, but Pogue has not been seeming to fight too hard, just trying to get the positions as he heads, just trying to keep it together, I think, as he goes around. He hasn't been fighting too hard in those sort of fights with the Hondas. That being said there, Neal went deep again, and he really is overdriving the Honda in this one. He's got to slow down to serve because he's going to let Pogue back through up into 4th position, and Matt Neal will sit down in 5th as Brown puts in a yet another purple lap time onto the board at the front of this one. And you know what, we may potentially see that 14 laps of asking in race number 3 as well. Changes behind as Noah Oswald-Destin makes a double overtake past Lolius. Contact though there with Mark Hughes, and then Hughes has contact with Batchelor, loses multiple positions, flashes his lights after that one. Matt Neal pushing Pogue then up towards Stowe, then looks to the inside here and will make his way back into P number 4 with Pogue dropping in behind once more. This is what happened for Noah Oswald-Destin. It was a double overtake on Thompson and Mild. It was to the inside. It went 3 wide for a moment there. There was contact between Mild and Thompson, and Oswald-Destin just took full advantage of that. Then there was that contact going on behind there between Mild and between between Thompson. No, but oh no, sorry, I said Thompson that whole time. It was Mark Hughes that contact was, not Thompson. I do apologise. Matt Neal then on the rear end of Cam McKay here, looking to try and get back onto the podium in all of this, as Jan Mild has found himself off and gets back onto the circuit nice and cleanly. Batchelor's to the inside of Lolius there and makes that overtake. This is what happened to Jan Mild. It was major contact with Oswald-Destin, who made an extremely late braking move there, sending Mild off the circuit. And Oswald-Destin, I think, discovered early doors how aggressive some of the drivers can be. He was taken out a number of times, and now he just wants to find his way back up the order. It's led to a number of bits of contact himself. Matt Neal still trying to get past Cam McKay. Of course, McKay has finished 14th in race 1 after broken suspension, 12th in race number 2. It put him on pole for this final race of the day. He's running around in 3rd right now, but Matt Neal takes the fastest lap of asking on the 7th tour of the circuit and is now trying to make his way past Cam McKay. Neal's been involved in a number of issues himself, including contact that took out James Potter, but he gets past Cam McKay with relative ease into the rail chicane there. Now onto the brakes, onto the back end of the circuit here. Mark Hughes is on the rear end of Jan Mild. They're looking in their fight for top 10. They've got Soliborski and Gregory Speakman just behind. And after McKay lost out to Neal, Riley Pogue is looking to try and get into 4th position here, which is where he has finished both of the opening races. He gets to the inside of Cam McKay. There's a little bit of a nudge there. McKay will just be hoping that these nudges don't lead to another set of broken suspension. He goes late braking there, try and keep the inside line. Pogue keeps it though as they switch across to the exit of the rail chicane and into club, and Riley Pogue will return to 4th position where he finished both of the opening races in this one. He's looking to try and take 3 in a row, as he is looking to try and do something in this championship, but right now Matt Neal is your strongest driver in the championship as it stands, behind Thomas Batchelor. Looking to try and get past. No, Oswald-Destin, there's contact! And Oswald-Destin is going to find himself out of this race. Hard into the wall there after contact with Thomas Batchelor. We'll have to have a look at that one all the way through. It was to the inside for Batchelor. Oswald-Destin to the outside as they come through the left-hander. That's an interesting one to look at, but it is a very, very hard hit for Noah Oswald-Destin out of race number 3 here in his debut event. He took a second, and then will finish in 14th down and out of the final race of the day. Again, it is just sometimes how it goes, these inverted races. It can go your way or it just does not go your way. And for Matt Neal right now, he wants it to go even more his way as he closes in to James Lazick-Smith for a potential 2nd position here. And as my prediction on my timing screen goes up, it looks like we are going to get 14 laps again which gives Neil 5 laps to try and close down the disadvantage he has to Thomas Brown. Of course, he is the fastest one out there, but Brown did take the qualifying pole position. He just didn't make the grid in race number 1. So is Neil going to be able to close down to Brown that much? He's only 0.2 of a second faster on their purple lap times between themselves. As Matt Neal chasing down Lazarus Smith, he has got to the rear end of the Honda driver. Your top 3 cars in this one, Hondas. And Lazarus Smith is going to be trying to keep the Alfa Corsa at bay as they come through the Vale chicane and up towards Club. 4 more laps remain in this one as we see the fight for P2, with James Lazarus Smith running around in second place. Ahead of Matt Neal, who's won both of the opening races this evening. He's going to go to the outside, and he's going to brake very late there as Lazarus Smith tries to keep the inside line. But Neal will keep a significant overlap then as they switch across the left, up towards Hangar now, and Neal is going to stay on the outside line. Lazarus Smith trying to keep the speed on the tighter line there as they go onto the Hangar straight. Lazarus Smith will stay on the right-hand side of the circuit. Matt Neal will stay on the left as they head up towards Stowe here in the fight for second place. Neal's going to try that outer line and carry the speed with him up towards Vale. He's got the overtake done. Can he keep it confirmed onto the brakes here into the Vale chicane? He does get so. Lazarus Smith clatters the curbing behind, but Matt Neal moves up into second place, with James Lazarus Smith falling in place behind. Marek Lolius here is going to try and find his way back into 7th where he started this race, if he is able to get past Carl Thompson, who's running around in P number 7 at the time being. The gaps opening up just a little bit, but there are still some very close cars out there who try to do something in the final 3 laps of asking here in the 18th round of the season, in the final race of the evening here in the Lame Sheep Racing's British Touring Car Series on Joseph Wright Broadcasting. We head out of the Hangar, out of Chapel and onto the Hangar straight. If you're watching for the first time over on the Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button there so you're notified when we go live for these wonderful Lane Sheep Racing events on a Sunday, but also all of the events that we do through the week. And if you're watching over on the YouTube as well, make sure you hit the subscribe button there. You can catch all the races live on YouTube, as well as watching all of the race highlights. They'll be up to date within the next couple of weeks, as well as I take a few weeks off of my full-time job. We'll be up to date with all of the race highlights once more. We come across the timing line then as Mark Hughes holds on to 10th position. He is chasing down Jan Mild for a potential 9th place, and that's Janusz Soloborski just behind as well. James Potter, who we saw going off early doors in this one, running around in 13th position. And out of the race, of course, is Noah Osbald-Destin. In his debut, he took home 2 second position finishes, and then contact with Thomas Batchelor sent him hard into the wall on the outside of turn number 2. And what I would say is probably one of the hardest hits we've seen this season so far. Cam McKay wants to take 4th position back on Riley Pogue here. He is making it early, making himself known, early into the Stowe complex there with 8 seconds on the board. Are we going to see the white or the checkered here as Thomas Brown comes through the final corner? We go on to the final lap of asking with 1 second to spare there, which means we will go on to 14 laps, and Cam McKay will have one more opportunity to take away 4th position from Riley Pogue. Pogue has finished 4th in both of the opening races of the evening. Can he finish 4th once more? Will Cam McKay, who got suspension damage in race number 1, who struggled to finish in P12 in race number 2, manage to get pole position for this one? But can Riley Pogue keep McKay at bay, or will McKay be able to turn his luck around? I mean, 5th position after the poor start to his evening will be a great way to end it. But can he get past Riley Pogue towards the end of this one? It doesn't look like he is going to. Thomas Brown, he has taken victory last week in race number 2, and he will take victory again here. It'll be what is a 5th victory of the season for Thomas Brown. Here in the 3rd and final race of the day, Matt Neal will take home 2nd ahead of James Lazick-Smith. Pogue will keep McKay at bay. Batchelor will cross the line in 6th. Carl Thompson takes home 7th ahead of Marek Lolius. Jan Mild in 9th. Mark Hughes will take home 10th ahead of Salaborski. Gregory Speakman finishes 12th. James Potter in 13th. And Noah Osbald-Destin will finish this one out of the race in P14. But Matt Neal continues to show he has got pace in the race as he takes his 10th fastest lap of the season in 18 races. But Thomas Brown was your man to take victory in the final race of the day. But leading the championship heading into this one, Matt Neal takes 2 victories and a 2nd place. There is no doubt in my mind he will still be in the lead of the championship at the end of this one. So let's double check our championship order. At the end of 18 rounds of asking, Matt Neal, finding that dominant form that David Johansson had in the winter season, sits on 203 points now. He is sitting 26 points clear of Thomas Brown. That is a victory, well, more than a victory clear at the front of the order. Riley Pogue finds his way into 3rd position and is just 4 points clear of stopping Alpha Corsa from getting a 1-2-3 in the championship standings. James Lazick-Smith holds on to 5th ahead of David Johansson, who falls to 6th. Like I said, he stepped out of the remainder of the season. Carl Thompson sits in 7th ahead of Hayden Ahmed. Jan Mild only 6 points behind Ahmed now, and James Paisley Knight falls to 10th in the championship. Let's have a look through the rest of your order then. Joe Coffin sits in 11th right now ahead of Marek Lolius, only 5 points separating them. Cam McKay with a poor evening, but a 5th place in the last race. He is in a 13th place now, moving up a couple of places. Ben Kaiser sitting in 14th with 73 points to his name. James Potter sits in 15th. After having a mixed bag of an evening. Mark Hughes in 16th ahead of Janis Salaborski. Gregory Speakman sits in 18th place, a couple of points behind Salaborski and a few points ahead of Pete Paver. Adam Baker rounds out your top 20 there, and the 3 Lame Sheep Racing drivers next to each other. James Leroux sits in 21st position ahead of Noah Osbald-Destin. Vilcar Kohler in 23rd ahead of Zamora. Ollie Ricks in 25th. I do apologise, we're missing a driver's name in 26th there with 6 points to his name. Ahead of Jan Kasperk, Adam Neal and Carl Marcinizin are the final 2 drivers with points on the board. Adam Duff is yet to get points on the board this season and is the last of our 30 drivers in this championship. With that being said then, it is the end of our broadcast here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting for the Lame Sheep Racing's event. We will be back in a week's time here for the British Touring Car Series rounds 19, 20 and 21. Head to the fastest circuit in the UK. It is Thruxton. If you're watching over on the Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button so you're notified when we go live. If you're watching on the YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. All the race highlights will be up within the next few weeks as well, so make sure you are heading over to the YouTube, which is pinned in the Twitch chat as well. Here, though, from Joseph Wright Broadcasting, we hope you have an amazing week. We will be back next week for the Porsches and the touring cars on Sunday. The next time we go live here on Joseph Wright Broadcasting, though, will be for Friday. We've got the Virtual Circuit Racing's TCR League and the Simulation Racing League's TCR League on Friday. Back-to-back touring cars. So if you love touring car action, as you've seen tonight, check out our 2 broadcasts on Friday as well. And then we'll be back next Sunday. A little bit of a relaxed from our super weekends we've had over the last couple of weeks, and my voice is finally coming back. So without the super weekend next week, it means we should be back to 100% with my voice by next weekend. Right then, we hope you have had a fantastic evening watching these ones. The Porsches have been great, the touring cars have been great. We'll be back for Thruxton in a week's time. So until then, here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting and Lame Sheep Racing, it is goodbye. So, goodbye.